Good evening, everyone. This is your evening news recap, your nightly news podcast on all the news that I come across throughout the day, giving you my take as somebody who aspires to be a politician in the near future. Hopefully, all you guys are doing wonderful. Hopefully, all you guys are doing well. Today is Saturday, October 11th. And it's been a pretty interesting past 2 days in the news world. So hopefully, all you guys have had a wonderful day and weekend so far. And hopefully, all you guys are getting the relaxation that you need. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. All the support would be greatly appreciated as we are trying to hit 500 subscribers by the end of the year. Without a doubt, we can do it. We're really close to 400, so let's get there. I believe we're only 7 away, so if you're new here, please subscribe. All the support is greatly appreciated. And if you're on Substack, please also consider subscribing as well. All funds go to me. They help me pay for the things that I need to pay for in college, like food, like clothing, like all of that. But if not, you can always subscribe for free. Once again, I truly do appreciate all forms of support. And with that being said, let's get into the news from today. Moving on into our highlight for the day, the first topic we have is a Chicago man gave a 7-year-old girl a safe haven during an ICE military style raid. During a massive immigration raid in Chicago last month, one man protected a 7-year-old girl from an attack by ICE agents after she knocked on his door asking for help. The girl hid under his bed and he said, "I didn't want them to take her. I gave her my bedroom. I told her, just stay there. Don't open. Don't. Shh. Stay quiet." At one point, he went outside, and ICE officers told him to shut his door and get the fuck inside. The man is staying anonymous out of fear for federal agents, but it's great that he is able to protect an individual. It's insane that things like these are even happening right now in this country. Genuinely, it is. This man is a hero and deserves all the respect in the world. But the fact that we're at a point, in this country where things like this are happening, and there are probably more cases like it throughout the country. I guarantee you there are hundreds of people in hiding throughout the country. It's really disgusting, and honestly depressing to think about that that even has to be the case. ICE needs to be shut down. They are a horrible organization that continuously still does not do their job correctly. And the fact that they are able to do this time and time again is absolutely disgusting. All props to this man, truly. I understand why he doesn't want to have his name out there, but good for him. Thanks for protecting the youth, really. Anyways, moving on into the Trump administration segment, the first topic we have today is mass firings are starting across the federal government. The Trump administration has begun its mass firing of federal workers due to the government shutdown. In a post on Twitter, the White House Budget Director Russ Vought said, "The RIFs have begun," referring to the substantial reduction of the federal workforce. Of course, this administration threatened the firings at the start of the shutdown, and now they are going through with them. This is absolutely bullshit, and I really hope a judge blocks this. On top of denying back pay to these federal workers, this administration is taking their jobs in an already horrible job economy, which is making it impossible to find one. They need to be shut down before they continue to make this country worse than they already have. There is no reason for them to fire these federal workers other than their own interests. And if the president is firing employees based on his own interests, we have a massive problem. In other news, the Trump administration is blaming Democrats for longer TSA lines. The Trump administration is displaying a video at airports blaming Democrats for longer TSA lines. In the video, Kristi Noem says, "It's TSA's top priority to make sure that you have the most pleasant and efficient airport experience as possible while we keep you safe. However, Democrats in Congress refuse to fund the federal government, and because of this, many of our options are impacted, and most of our TSA employees are working without pay." It's interesting that they post this, even though the Trump administration has already fired hundreds of TSA workers, which also isn't helping the longer lines. I mean, that's not something we should forget. Trump has fired so many of these workers, and on top of that, he is refusing to pay these workers, which isn't okay in any way, shape, or form. So blaming it on the Democrats is insane when it's not their fault. You're the one pushing for them not to be paid. I mean, you are stopping that yourself. And if I was a federal worker and if I wasn't getting paid, I wouldn't show up to work either, in all honesty. Like, there is no reason for anyone to work without getting paid, especially in a country where billionaires and the rich and, the company owners, the large corporations, if you will, um, already profited off of the workers in so many horrible ways. And workers aren't treated very great here in the United States. So the fact that like they're expecting people to come to work and not be paid is absolutely insane. In other news, the Trump administration also wants to fire more air traffic controllers. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy has threatened to fire air traffic controllers who don't show up to work during a government shutdown for not being paid, calling them problem children. This comes as flight delays have grown extremely prominent from controllers not showing up to work because they won't get paid. Duffy said on Fox Business, if we have a continual small subset of controllers that won't show up to work and they are problem children, if we have some on our staff that aren't dedicated like we need, we're going to let them go. I can't have people not showing up for work. And they're blaming the Democrats for flight delay and TSA issues. Do you really expect flights to be efficient without people there and with, you know, outpaying people? Like, people aren't going to show up to work if you're not paying them. Like, that should be obvious. And if you fire more of those people, flights aren't going to be efficient. It's just not going to happen. There's a reason why why airports have so many staff members. And I don't blame these workers for not showing up in any way, shape, or form. Nobody should have to work for free, especially in this country. Genuinely, like I just said, rich people already take advantage of the workers really everywhere across the country. And the fact that people are expecting federal workers to show up to work when they are not getting paid is absolutely insane. Nobody should work for free, especially in the United States of America. I mean, let's be real here. In other news, Trump has ordered Pete Hegseth to ensure payments to military service members. Trump has directed Pete Hegseth to use all of the department's available funds to pay service members during the government shutdown. In a post on True Social, he wrote, Chuck Schumer recently said every day gets better during the radical left shutdown. I disagree. If nothing gets done because of the leader Chuck Schumer and the Democrats, our brave troops will miss the paychecks they are rightfully due on October 15th. This is why I aim to use my authority as Commander in Chief to direct our Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, to use all available funds to get our troops paid on October 15th. We have identified the funds to do this, and our Secretary Hegseth will use them to pay our troops. I will not allow the Democrats to hold our military and the entire security of our nation hostage with their dangerous government shutdown. The radical left Democrats should open the government, and then we can work together to address healthcare and many other things that they want to destroy. I mean, they're the ones destroying healthcare, but hey, thank you for your attention to this matter. This is great news, of course. The military should be getting paid. But why are we doing this while denying money to federal workers on top of that? Like, isn't that a bad look? It really should be. It is growing more clear that the military is already not happy with the Trump administration, especially after the meeting that they forced all of these generals to go to, with Pete Hegseth and Trump, where they told them that generals needed to be stop being so radical and stop being so woke. Like, it is so clear that they are already upset with the current administration. So is he trying to get them like more on his side? Is he trying to buddy up with them? Because it's crazy that he is denying pay to federal workers, but full on pushing to get the military paid. Genuinely, it is. Should troops be getting paid? Yes, absolutely. But so should federal workers. And the fact that this administration is saying that we're not going to pay our federal workers, but we're going to push to get our military members paid instantly is crazy. It really is. In other news, moving on into our ICE segment, we have one topic today as a news producer was violently detained by ICE in Chicago. Chicago news producer Debbie Brockman, a U.S. citizen, was violently detained by ICE agents on October 10th. ICE agents threw her to the ground and put her and another person into an unmarked van. The Department of Homeland Security claims Brockman threw objects at a Border Patrol car and was arrested for suspicion of assault on a federal officer. What ICE has been doing to people, in their arrests, and with how much more aggressive they've become over the past few weeks, is becoming more and more of a huge problem, and it's an active problem that needs to be dealt with. ICE agents should not be picking people up and body slamming them to the ground. That is unnecessary, completely unnecessary. And the fact that they cover it up by pulling the assault on an officer card is wild, when that's not the case in the majority of these situations. Most of the time, that does not happen. And yet, these agents pick people up. Multiple agents will pick an individual up and they will just body slam them to the ground. It's crazy. I mean, it is clear that these agents are not trained. They are not going through training that federal agents should have because they're just picking people up off the street at this point. But also, like, it is insane that this is being allowed to happen. Genuinely. Like, what is happening? We have a masked Gestapo running around our country, picking people up and throwing them to the ground, and then throwing them into unmarked vans. It is a massive problem. And that shouldn't be the case. It really shouldn't. Anyways, moving on into our other news segments, an Oklahoma governor has the Oklahoma governor has blasted Trump. Oklahoma's Republican Governor Kevin Stitt said that he opposes the use of the National Guard from other states operating in other states. Abigail Cave, a spokesperson for Stitt, said in a statement, "When it's the governors working together, it's a very different story. But this is a whole situation where one state's governor is sending their National Guard troops over the objections of another state's governor. That is a very dangerous precedent." Props to this governor for at least speaking out on this. Oklahoma has some terrible policies already approved by him, but it's huge to see this from a Republican and a Republican governor, especially. Other state National Guardmen should not be, invading other states like what we've seen in Chicago and what they're trying to push for in Portland right now. I mean, uh, states should not be invading other states, period. And the fact that we are seeing that is insane. And it really is just an act of war between the states, which could be called a civil war. I've said that we're in a cold civil war on multiple occasions. And I really think that's what we are witnessing here. It is an invasion of these other states, especially their rights. And it should not be okay for this to take place in any way. Like, genuinely, it should be a problem that this is taking place. In other news, the chairman of the Nobel Prize Committee said Trump didn't do anything to deserve a Nobel Peace Prize. The head of the Nobel Peace Prize Committee justified why Trump didn't receive an award, suggesting that he was not worthy of it. Of course, the deadline for nominations passed on January 31st, so any nominations for Trump would be for the 2026 Nobel Prize. But instead of mentioning the timing, Jorgen Watson Friedens, that's not how you pronounce that, I'm sorry, said the president didn't live up to it. He said, "This committee sits in a room filled with portraits of all laureates, and that room is filled with both courage and integrity. So we base only our decisions on the work and the will of Alfred Nobel." Trump was never going to win a Nobel Peace Prize, and he very likely never will. Let's be real here. Any conflict that he claims to have ended doesn't end and hasn't really ended, not to mention the amount of conflicts he has started already. Just yesterday, or 2 days ago now, he claims to have started to bring peace to Israel and Gaza. Yet Israel has already violated that ceasefire. It is just not happening. He is not accomplishing what he claims to be accomplishing. In fact, he's failing on a large scale. In some more unfortunate news, multiple people have been found dead after a blast at an explosives manufacturer in Tennessee. Multiple people are dead following a huge explosion at an explosives manufacturing plant in Tennessee. The explosion occurred on Friday morning at Accurate Energetic Systems in McEwen, 50 miles west of Nashville. At least 13 people are unaccounted for in Hickman County, according to Mayor Jim Bates. An investigation is now underway to figure out the cause of the explosion and if those missing people are alive or not. This is horrible news, and my full condolences go out to all the families of those who lost, that are lost. This is truly a horrible situation, and I hope they can figure out the cause of this explosion. Hopefully, it was just an accident, but you never really know these days. Good luck to all the first responders and law enforcement involved, and in aid on the scene. And hopefully they are able to find as many people alive as possible. In other news, the Texas governor has ordered the removal of all rainbow crosswalks within the state. Texas Governor Greg Abbott is calling for the removal of rainbow crosswalks and all other pride symbols on public roads in Texas, claiming they pose safety concerns and are a waste of taxpayer dollars. Abbott said, "Texans expect their taxpayer dollars to be used wisely, not to advance political agendas on Texas roadways." He said, "Any city who does not comply with these will lose state funding in order to keep Texans moving safely and free from distraction." I'm going to be completely honest here. I wish every crosswalk had a design. I really think crosswalks are so boring, and I would honestly love if communities worked to design them and make them more fun. Maybe make them apply to the area or the city or things that are going on around there. Because, I think to just remove these like designed crosswalks really takes a lot of life out of a space. And to put one in adds a lot of life to a space. I also think it's an attempt to remove LGBTQ plus people from society, which isn't going to happen. But nor is that okay. But you know, I really wish that we saw more things like this across the country because it would add a lot more life to our country. It really would. In the town I grew up, there is a piano crosswalk, and I'm a big fan of it because it brings more life to the area. It brings something cool. It makes these boring crosswalks that are really just two lines on a street actually interesting, which I think we should see more of. I really think it would be nice if crosswalks were used that way throughout the country to not only express art, but to express so many other things that are important to the world around us. And I think that we are missing out on something like that. I really do. In other news, moving on into our final topic for tonight, a mass shooting has taken place in Mississippi, killing 4 and injuring 12. 4 have been killed and 12 others have been injured following a mass shooting in Mississippi. The shooting happened around midnight on Main Street of a small town called Leland. 4 of the injured were airlifted to a hospital, and a manhunt is now underway. The town was busier than normal due to a high school homecoming football game, but the shooting thankfully did not take place on the school campus. This is horrible, and my full condolences go to the family of all of those killed, and I wish a speedy recovery to all of those injured. Once again, this displays the huge issue with gun violence we have in our country that needs to change. Mass shootings and shootings in general should not be as common as they are. It really does feel like every day there is a shooting that takes place in this country, or, there are people who die of a weapon in this country. And we need more gun restrictions to solve that. Truly, people should not have to be dying as much as they do. Not to mention, children should not have to worry about being shot in schools. It is a massive problem, and that really should not be the case in any way, shape, or form. But with that being said, thank you all for watching today's episode. I hope you all enjoyed. It has definitely been a very interesting past 2 days in the news world. But hopefully all you guys are doing well. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. As mentioned, we are on our way to 500 subscribers by the end of the year, and we're really close to 400. So all the support would be greatly appreciated as we try to meet that goal by the end of the year. I believe we can do it. So let's get it done. And if you're on Substack, please also consider subscribing. All the support is greatly appreciated. All funds go to me. They help me pay for the things that I need to pay for in college, like food, like clothing, like all of that. But if not, you can always subscribe for free. I truly do appreciate all forms of support on this content. And with that being said, thank you all for watching today's episode, and I will see you all